Hi everyone, welcome back. Last time we learned how to build a moccasin pattern in a fail-proof way, taught by me, Ms. Chambers, your Métis home ec teacher from Winnipeg, Canada. Today, if you're going to be making moccasins, you're going to need to know what you need and where to get it, so that's what we're covering today. Let's get started. So first up, you are of course going to need your moccasin pattern. That's the first thing you're going to need. If you don't have that yet, just go ahead and watch my first video and then come back when you've got that. Next, you're going to need something soft and fluffy for your lining. This I would call a Sherpa fabric. It's a synthetic, it's not real fur. I bought this at a fabric store. However, you can also get this at a fantastic Winnipeg place called Warb Furs, where I order just about everything. And they'll sell it to you in the size you need. If you just need a little scrap of it, they'll do that too. You just need to call them. They have a fantastic website for online ordering. And I'll provide links at the end of this video also. So you'll need this for your lining. This is enough, I hope, for 2 of these and 2 of these. There we go. So that's how you'll know how much you need. When I cut this out, I'll get a right and a left. Once you've got your lining together, you're going to start cutting out your Moccasin Vamp to do your beadwork on. And for that, a nice thick piece of wool works really well for beading on. You can bead right onto leather. You can have a leather vamp. It's just a lot harder. So if you're first time out, pick a nice piece of wool. This is called wool melton. You can get wool melton or wool duffel. Again, you can get this at Warb Fur and they can sell you a small scrap if you like. If you're wanting to make more or you're running a classroom, then I would encourage you to order at least 1 meter, which is their minimum cut for anything that's not a remnant. Okay, then you'd be on to beading. This stuff is pretty thick. It's pretty rigid. We want whatever fabric we're beading on to be pretty rigid. Otherwise, you'll find the tension of your beads and your thread kind of cups your fabric over time, and it looks not as pretty as it could. So we want to stiffen this fabric up a little bit, and there's a few ways to do that. First, you can get something like this. This is interfacing. Interfacing is made from a material called pellin. You can also get plain pellin and use that. You'll notice it's shiny on one side. That's because that has a glue sprayed on it. So if I iron this to my wool, it'll stick and stay forever, which makes it easier. This one is a little bit light. You can get heavier weight stuff. Unfortunately, I do not believe Warb Furs sells pellin. However, you can get this at any fabric store. If you're intimidated by the fabric store, I have a great hack for you. And that is these little Hi, My Name Is labels. You can peel and stick them on, and as long as your beadwork isn't too much bigger than the sticky area, they'll do just fine at preventing your material from cupping, and they're only about $4, easily gotten at any office supply store. Okay, lastly, for your beadwork, you're going to need a pattern. I have a link here to this pattern if you want to follow along. My next video will be cutting out all of our supplies, and then finally we will get to this beading. So you know you can follow along and prep with us. But you will need something, 2 copies of it. If you want it mirror imaged for each of your vamps, you'll need to make that happen. Okay? Okay. Then, the moment we've been waiting for, this stuff here also came from Warb Fur. This is called Alaska Split Cowhide. So it's suede on both sides. It's really durable, and it comes in, I don't know, 50 different colors. So this is sort of a natural-ish golden hue. You can get hot pink, baby blue, forest green, black, gray, whatever you want, all on that website. Their minimum cut for this is 5 square feet at about $3.50 a square foot. Or if you just want to make 1 pair of moccasins once, you can call them and they'll send you scraps that are large enough, and they'll charge you accordingly for that. I gotta say, I know I'm promoting one place more than all the others, but I just have such a wonderful time shopping there, and the staff are so great that, you know, I come by it honestly. It's a good place to go. Plus, they will ship the same day. All right. So if you're buying for a school, you can buy larger quantities, of course. Okay. Our rabbit fur. You can use any fur. Rabbit is generally the most economical though, and you can buy it in strips like this. which will cost you about $5 a foot. Or again, if you are sourcing for a classroom or a workshop, you can buy in large sheets like this. This is called a rabbit plate, and it comes actually a little bit bigger than this. I've cut this down already for some moccasins, and this is about $90 for a lower grade fur, although you can see it's quite lovely. Higher grade fur, you can pay up to $200 for a plate of rabbit fur if it's super fluffy, luxurious rabbit. The way I like to temporarily hold my leather together is with these little guys. So these are just from any old office supply store. These are baby binder clips. They're the 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter clips. You can't pin leather together. It doesn't work. The pins don't go through it, so we use these instead. You can use fancy quilting clips. You can use clothespins, anything that will pinch it together and hold it together while you sew it so that nothing moves around on you. Next, some low tack tape. This tape is used to attach your pattern to the leather because, again, we don't pin through leather. First of all, it leaves holes, and secondly, it's really hard to do, so we tape it down. Low tack tape doesn't leave a sticky residue on your leather, which is important. If you are cutting your own rabbit fur, you will need something like this, a utility cutter. Now, usually I tell people don't buy the no-name type stuff or the office store brand name, but we'll see how good this one is. Sometimes they only tear the hide and they don't cut it. I generally recommend buying Olfa brand, O-L-F-A, because those people know what sharp is, but perhaps the fine folks at Staples do too. We'll find out. Beads, of course. If you are beading your moccasins, I went with very simple colors. Again, bought these at Warb Furs, your one-stop shop for just about all of this. These are size 10 beads, which is sort of your standard seed bead size 10 beads, and they're going to coordinate with a size 10 needle. Here are the size 10 needles I got at Warb Furs. Now, why is a beading needle special? You need a size 10 beading needle, not a size 10 sewing needle. So I'm going to open these up. It's like a Russian doll. I think there's 10 in here. And you're going to see they're extremely thin. Even the eye is extremely thin. That's because the eye with 2 threads through it, right? It's going to be doubled back, needs to fit through these tiny beads. A regular sewing needle won't. You have to get a beading needle. Size 10 is going to correspond with size 10 beads. Then we've got our leather needles. Leather needles are a lot chunkier than the beading needles. They're also a lot more expensive. They're about $1 each. You'll notice they have a triangular tip. That's to pierce the leather effectively. And the eye is still a little bit smaller so that you don't have to pull super hard to get the eye of the needle through the leather and then risk breaking your thread. So again, you do need specialized needles. Leather needles are also known as Glover's needles, and these are a size 3, which is pretty standard for this type of work. This is our beading thread. It is thin nylon thread. We're going to use white because I'm beading on a whitish wool fabric. If I was using a darker background fabric, I would use darker thread. There's the bottom of that, if you need that. Can Sew does sell directly to the consumer, I believe, but again, I got this at Bill Warb Furs. Our second type of thread is leather thread. You can see it's quite a bit thicker. It's also nylon, and it's colored to coordinate with our leather. Lastly, I have some sewing thread here. We're going to use that to sew the lining together. This is Mettler Moccasin thread. You can use any sewing thread. Honestly, you can probably even use your beading thread to sew your lining together, and I won't tell on you. So once you have all your supplies together, that is all you're going to need to get going. So our next video, please come back. We're going to be putting this all together and cutting it out, making ourselves a kit to make one set of moccasins. So that is it. That is all the supplies you're going to need to put together your kit. Next time, we're going to be using our pattern to cut this all out and get it prepped for beading the vamp.